Eric David Scott Esch, also known as Butterbean, the name alone strikes fear. Famous for his bone-crushing power and rigid style. This heavyweight wasn't here for points, but for knockouts. Get ready to recall the brutal force that made Butterbean a knockout legend. He had a difficult childhood. His mother died when he was 8, and he was frequently bullied at school for being overweight. While working at Southern Energy Homes in Addison, Alabama, his colleagues dared him to enter a local tough man contest, with training in Bay City, Michigan. He won the tournament and began his career in fight sports. He received the nickname Butterbean when he was forced to go on a diet consisting mostly of chicken and butter beans to meet the tough man 400-pound weight limit. After making a successful debut in professional boxing against Tim Daniels, his second opponent was Doug Norris, an up-and-coming fighter with limited experience. Butterbean imposed his size and power. He progressed persistently. Norris had a tough time defending against Butterbean. In just a minute of round 2, Butterbean delivered one of his signature booms, sending Norris to the ground. By the time Butterbean reached his 10th professional fight, he had already become a fan favorite. With his knockout power and unique presence, this time he squared off against Paul Springer, a tough and rugged fighter who had been in the game for a while. He stood his ground and attempted to use his expertise to outsmart the larger Butterbean. But what he didn't anticipate was the relentless power coming from the man known as the Beast from the East. Midway through the fight, a devastating right hand rocked Springer, sending him to the canvas. It was another statement win for Butterbean, who moved to 10-0 with 7 victories coming by knockout. At this point, Butterbean's reputation as a knockout artist was well established. With 13 wins, 8 by knockout, his 14th fight brought him face-to-face with Pat Jackson, a seasoned opponent about to become another victim of Butterbean's punches. The fight started with Jackson trying to use his footwork and technique to avoid Butterbean's crushing blows. He circled, jabbed, and tried to frustrate the big man. But Butterbean's patience was growing, and once he cornered Jackson, it was only a matter of time. As the fight progressed in the 3rd round, Butterbean landed a massive right hand that sent Jackson and the referee stumbling.
Referees cannot protect themselves at all times the way fighters do it. We've seen referees get hit in the past. That might be one of the most dramatic shots he walked into.
Once again, Butterbean had pulled it off, securing his 14th win. He dominated the match with a jaw-dropping knockout, bringing his total to 9 knockout victories.
Okay, thanks, Al. Butterbean once won 4 fights in a night in the tough man. Tonight he won 2. Were you trying to tell the referee to stop the fight there, Bean?
Well, not exactly. He just got in the way, just like tough man. Somebody gets in the way and they go down. It wasn't intentional, but it happens.
This time, he faced Louis Monaco, a fighter known as the king of the upset for his unpredictable wins against established names. The fight started with Butterbean quickly took down Monaco. He stayed cautious, knowing that Butterbean's power was always one punch away from ending the night. Monaco landed some decent shots, trying to slow down the big man, but Butterbean was like a freight train, moving forward, absorbing hits, and aiming to make game-changing shots. Boom! Butterbean delivered a devastating overhand right directly to Monaco's chin, knocking him to the canvas. Butterbean continued his undefeated streak. His rising career sparked increasing excitement with every fight, resulting in yet another electrifying knockout, and another name added to his ever-growing list of victims. But Mitch Rose was not ready to add his name in the list of victims. Rose was looking to make a name for himself by pulling off an upset against the Knockout King. Butterbean tried to end the fight quickly, but didn't succeed. Rose used his size advantage, jabbing and moving to keep Butterbean at a distance. Rose's strategy started to pay off. He landed several solid shots, causing Butterbean to lose his rhythm. A well-placed combination caught Butterbean. The referee stopped the fight. It was a stunning turn-off event. Butterbean's undefeated streak had come to an end. By the time Butterbean reaches his 23rd fight, he starts regaining his winning streak. He was on a 6-fight win streak, and all 6 wins came by knockouts. On May 14, 1996, Butterbean faced Jonathan Whitfield. Whitfield came out with a cautious approach, moving around the ring and trying to keep his distance. But Butterbean steadily closed the gap, waiting to unleash his trademark power. Butterbean dropped Whitfield many times.
Well, we're coming down to the conclusion of third. Good punch, the victor, and
But in the 4th round, Whitfield was unable to continue after Butterbean knocked him out of the ring. This one brought Butterbean's record to an impressive 22-1, with nearly every victory coming by knockout. Butterbean was a force of nature in the heavyweight division. His next opponent was George Clark. Butterbean explodes with lightning speed and connects with a devastating right hand, sending George to the canvas. Clark manages to stand up, but before he can even catch his breath, Butterbean sends George crashing back to the ground. George again stood up, but Butterbean's patience was over. He unleashes a barrage of ferocious combinations, sending George knocking out of the ring. The referee didn't even have to count because Clark was out cold. With 23 knockouts, George Clark joined the long list of fighters who simply couldn't stand up to the raw power of Butterbean, solidifying his reputation as one of the most dangerous heavyweights in the sport. His next opponent was Sean Jegan, a fighter looking to make a name for himself by stepping into the ring with the king of the 4-rounders. It didn't take long for Butterbean to find his opportunity. At the end of the 1st round, a blowing right-left hand combination from Butterbean landed clear, sending Jegan to sleep. The referee quickly waved it off. Another knockout for Butterbean, another victim added to his list. For his 29th fight, he faced Kenwood, a tough and durable opponent. In the 2nd round, a massive right overhand by Butterbean landed flush on Woods. The referee immediately stepped in. Another knockout for Butterbean, who continued to build his legacy as a knockout artist. Butterbean's reputation as a knockout machine was in full force by the time he faced Scott Lindeck in his next fight. All eyes were on the big man as he squared off against Lindecker. The fight begins. Lindecker starts pushing Butterbean back, landing jabs, but everybody knows Lindecker is in a danger zone. Butterbean catches Scott off guard, landing a powerful right hand that sends Scott to the canvas. He held his ground and made it through the 1st round. Butterbean focuses on targeting Lindecker's body, managing to take him down once more. However, Scott refuses to back down. It didn't take long for Butterbean to find a spot. A massive right hand landed blush on Lindecker, dropping him to the floor. The referee quickly stepped in, waving off the fight as Lindecker lay stunned.
He kept throwing a punch and ducking real low, and I kept shooting over his head. So I said, next time he throws a punch, I'm going low. It caught him right on the chin.
He looked pretty awkward to you?
He was very awkward because he'd throw a punch and come in low and grab me. And his head kept ending up under my shoulder, so there's nothing I could do but throw it low.
Butterbean's name was synonymous with knockouts. By the time Butterbean reached his 41st fight, he had a perfect record of 39 wins, 30 by knockouts, 1 loss by Mitchell Rose, and 1 draw with Billy Eaton. His next fight was a rematch with Billy Eaton, and Butterbean was determined to avoid another draw. Eaton started with a cautious approach, staying on the move and trying to keep his distance from Butterbean's thunderous punches. In the third round, Butterbean spotted his chance and unleashed a devastating right hand with a combination that hit its mark perfectly. Eaton stood up, but Butterbean may not have liked that, rushing to Eaton and hitting a perfect combo that made Eaton collapse to the canvas under the force of the punch.
Still the king of the 4-rounders.
With 43 fights behind him and a reputation for devastating knockouts, was back in the ring for his 44th fight. His opponent this time? Patrick Graham is a seasoned fighter with years of experience in the ring, ready to test himself against one of boxing's most feared power punchers. Graham started the fight cautiously, using his experience to try and avoid Butterbean's heavy hands. Butterbean methodically stalked his opponent around the ring, poised to seize the perfect opportunity to unleash his attack. With several decent combinations, Butterbean came to his rhythm in the second round. He landed a lightning-fast right hand on the back of the head. But Patrick managed to stand back. As the third round started, with a quick move, he knocked Graham through the ropes with a body punch that connected perfectly and retains the IBA World Super Heavyweight Championship. Butterbean was unstoppable, with 44 fights and a long list of knockout victories. For his 45th bout, he faced Kevin Talon, but stepping into the ring with Butterbean meant one thing: trying to avoid that massive right hand that had taken down so many opponents before him. The fight starts with both fighters trying to land something big. The first round ended when both fighters were pressuring each other to knock down. In the second round, Butterbean unleashed a brutal left hand, followed by a lightning-fast combination that sent Kevin down, but not for long. About halfway through the round, Butterbean cornered Talon once again. A thunderous right hand from Butterbean connected cleanly, sending Talon down to the canvas. But Talon stood up back. Talon became a punching bag for Butterbean. In the third round, Butterbean once again cornered Talon. With uppercuts and hooks, Butterbean directed Talon to the ground. The referee stepped in immediately. Kevin Talon lay on the mat, unable to get back to his feet. His next challenge was George Lindbergh. Under 20 seconds of fight was over. A massive right hand landed flush, echoing through the arena like a thunderclap as Butterbean's opponent reeled from the sheer impact, their legs buckling under the force. Butterbean again polishes his record with his 55th win and retains the IBA World Super Heavyweight Championship. Bill Johnson, Butterbean's next victim, was stepping into dangerous territory. Johnson stayed on the outside, constantly moving and trying to frustrate Butterbean by not allowing him to get into a rhythm. But Butterbean wasn't easily thrown off. He continued to move forward. Johnson was doing everything he could to stay away from Butterbean's power. Johnson managed to survive the first round, but he was already getting tired from Butterbean's constant pressure. In the second round, Butterbean came out with even more intensity, hunting his prey and cutting off the ring. Johnson found himself trapped in the corner with nowhere to run.
It's his job to do what he just did. Hey,
Butterbean unleashed a devastating overhand, landing flush, sending Johnson crashing to the canvas. Johnson couldn't find the strength to get back to his feet, a usual result for Butterbean's opponents. In his 61st professional fight, Butterbean faced off against Kerry Biles. With 60 fights under his belt, including countless knockouts, Biles was not aware of the danger he was facing. Biles came out tentative, using footwork and jabs to keep Butterbean away. He knew that if he got into a slugfest, it would likely be a short night for him. Butterbean, however, wasn't interested in waiting. From the opening bell, he pressed forward, looking to land one of his signature heavy punches. As the round progressed, Butterbean's pressure started to show results. Biles tried to use his movement to stay on the outside. A couple of heavy body shots from Butterbean landed, slowing Biles down. Butterbean in the second round. He unleashed a barrage of punches, leaving Biles with nowhere to run. A right hand landed like a bomb, and Biles crumpled to the canvas. Butterbean's next encounter was against Marcus Road. As expected, Butterbean started the fight in his signature aggressive style, relentlessly moving forward, hunting for that early knockout blow. Road, fully aware of Butterbean's devastating power, tried to stay on the outside, creating space. But it didn't take long for Butterbean's relentless pressure to close the gap, forcing Road into dangerous territory. As the fight progressed, Butterbean closed the distance on Road. His sheer size and relentless forward movement made it difficult for Road to stay on the outside. Butterbean began unloading heavy blows to the body, forcing Road to backpedal. In the third round, Butterbean unleashed big ripple shots. The punch landed with full force, and Road couldn't recover in time. It was another classic finish for the king of the four-rounders. Butterbean stepped into unfamiliar territory for his first ever kickboxing bout, trading in his boxing gloves for a new challenge to prove himself in a different arena. His opponent, Yusuke Fujimoto, was an experienced Japanese kickboxer with a solid record. Fans were eager to see if Butterbean's legendary power could translate into the kickboxing ring, where kicks and knees add another layer of complexity. As the fight began, Fujimoto wasted no time testing Butterbean's ability to handle kicks, delivering sharp strikes to the legs and body. But the kicks barely fazed the big man. In true Butterbean fashion, he unleashed his heavy hands, dropping Yusuke to the canvas. Remarkably, Fujimoto managed to get back to his feet, but the damage was already done. Butterbean's debut in kickboxing was a resounding success. He proved that his knockout power was magnificent in combat sports. In the next 10 boxing fights, Butterbean doesn't seem to be performing at his best. He ends up losing 2 matches and drawing 2 matches as well. By his 74th fight, Butterbean's next opponent was Rodney Phillips. Halfway through the first round, Butterbean started to break through Phillips' defense. A couple of stiff body shots from Butterbean landed clean, forcing Phillips to back up into the ropes. Phillips had no choice but to engage. The second round was more of the same. Phillips tried to mount some offense, but in doing so, left himself vulnerable to Butterbean's devastating power. It didn't take long for the inevitable to unfold. A crushing overhand right from Butterbean connected, and Phillips was sent crashing to the canvas, the crowd knowing there was no getting up from that. Following this victory, Butterbean's record stood at 67 wins, 3 losses, and 4 draws. Butterbean's legacy in kickboxing is not as good as his other sports. At that time, he competed in 6 kickboxing fights, securing 2 victories and experiencing 4 defeats. In what would be the final chapter of Butterbean's kickboxing career, the heavy-hitting American squared off against South Korea's Bo Lam Moon. The fight began with Moon aiming to showcase his technical striking skills, but Butterbean had other plans. He quickly caught Lamb with a series of powerful right hands, sending Bo Lamb crashing to the mat. The referee stepped in, calling an end to the bout and granting Butterbean a memorable victory in his kickboxing farewell. In his 86th professional fight, Butterbean stepped into the ring against Ed White, a fighter who knew he'd have to survive Butterbean's powerful attacks early on. White started strong, landing several clean shots on Butterbean, showing off his striking prowess early in the fight.
Butterbean takes the punch pretty well, as he's showing you here. Grinning through the assault of Ed White, but Butterbean's not scoring much yet.
Yeah, Butterbean is trying to let Ed White punch himself out.
Halfway through the first round, Butterbean began to find his range, but the round came to an end. In the second round, Butterbean smelled blood. He wasted no time closing the distance, unleashing a barrage of punches that left White unable to defend himself. Ed got back on his feet, but his recovery was fleeting. Butterbean launched a devastating combination that knocked Ed White clean out of the ring. It was a familiar result for the heavyweight slugger, and the crowd roared in approval as another opponent fell victim to his power.
As a boxer, there's a lot of boxers that have close to the same power, but maybe not the same. There's some may have be equal or maybe a little more, but in the MMA world, I don't feel nobody has the same power I do. So a lot of them are a little leery of my power because boxers actually hit harder than MMA people.
Butterbean also began fighting in MMA at that time and has a decent record of 6 wins, 2 losses, and 1 draw in 9 fights. In Butterbean's 10th MMA fight, he faced former WWE wrestler turned mixed martial artist Sean O'Hare. After absorbing a leg kick, he lunged forward with a flurry of punches. A massive right hand connected flush, and O'Hare had no time to react. The king of the 4-rounder showed that his knockout power wasn't just limited to boxing. In his 13th MMA fight, Butterbean faced off against James the Colossus Thompson, a towering figure known for his size and aggressive fighting style. It didn't take long for that moment to arrive. Just 43 seconds into the first round, Butterbean landed a crushing punch that sent Thompson crashing. The crowd erupted as Butterbean's power once again proved to be the deciding factor. The referee had no choice but to stop the fight, awarding Butterbean yet another devastating first-round knockout victory. Butterbean added another underlined win to his MMA career.
Come out to fight, a couple leg kicks. Once I hit him with the first one, I think it shook him a little bit. And then I just went in for the kill. When I go in, I just don't stop. Just like James don't. When James comes to fight, he comes to fight. And, I think when he went down, I hit him and stunned him a little bit.
For his 28th MMA fight, Butterbean entered the cage against Dean Story, an experienced British fighter looking to make a statement against the heavyweight powerhouse. As the bell rang, Butterbean, the 400-pound knockout artist, lumbered towards Dean Story with the grace of a freight train and the power of a wrecking ball. Story, clearly aware of Bean's reputation, is looking for an opening. As the fight progressed, Butterbean unleashed a devastating right hook that seemed to defy the laws of physics. The impact was audible even over the roar of the crowd. It was the last win of Butterbean's MMA career, but in that fight, he wins the Elite 1 MMA Super Heavyweight Championship, further solidified his legacy as one of the most dangerous heavyweights in both boxing and MMA.
I'm me. I mean, everybody's gonna know that I'm a regular guy. I'm living out a dream, and most everybody already know that. Everybody, all the true boxing fans that have always watched me and enjoyed my fights, they know I'm a regular guy, and that's what I want to be remembered by. That somebody can come out and have a beer with after the fight.